Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Paige here, and I'm going to be talking to you guys today about the space race. Alright, so when you think about a race, you're usually thinking about two people running and trying to beat each other to a finish line. Well, that is exactly what the space race was. So I'm going to take you back in time. Alright, so I'm going to take you back in time. I want you to close your eyes and I want you to think about the time we are in America in the early to mid 1900s. Okay, so we've been through the 1800s, which was all about exploration and moving across the country in order to explore. We've got pioneers that are creating new communities. We've got Lewis and Clark who are exploring the Louisiana Purchase. Then things kind of start to settle out. We kind of get into our groove, into building these communities from going from rural to urban areas. So we've got this going on in America right now. We've got established communities. We are getting better with communication. So we've got the Postal Service now. Don't forget Henry Ford and his contributions. We've now got transcontinental transportation because of the car, exactly. So boys and girls, I want you to think about this. So right now, technology and communication and transportation, these things are all exploding and becoming way more accessible for everybody. All right, so bringing us into the space race. So this is the mid 1900s. We're talking like 1950. So if you're thinking about how to relate to that, think about some of the old shows like I Love Lucy that maybe you've seen in my classroom or maybe you've seen at home, and those kinds of shows that the TVs were in black and white, and there were no cell phones. TV was very limited, that kind of thing. So it was just a different time. It was before a lot of technology happened. So the 1950s were going on, and our president was Dwight D. Eisenhower, and I forgot to tell you, World War II had just ended. Okay, so this big, huge war that had happened between all of the countries, or a lot of the countries in the world, had just ended. But we still had a big rival. Okay, word rival means somebody that you're constantly competing with. Okay, and our rival was the USSR, or the Soviet Union, which is now, majority of that is Russia. So I'm going to call it Russia from now on, but it was the USSR. Okay, the Soviet Union. Okay, so there are big rivals. Okay, we're constantly in competition with them. Like their army gets bigger, so we want our army to be bigger, and things like that. So then what happens is technology is continuing to get better and better, and it started something called the space race. We realized that we'd explored a lot of the world already, so we started looking to other places to explore, like space. So they actually call space the final frontier for a reason. You guys learned that word frontier when we were doing a lot of learning about pioneers and things like that. So remember, a frontier is an unexplored place, and we were looking into space, the final frontier. So the United States and the USSR both start trying to get their best scientists to work on space travel, building rockets, things that would get us far enough into the sky to where we could reach orbit, or maybe even go to the moon. Spoiler alert, that happens. All right, so they're doing this, USSR is like, I'm going to put somebody out in space first. And then the USA is like, no, we're going to put somebody in space first. And so they're going back and forth. They're starting to put chimpanzees, like monkeys, into space to see how they act and how their bodies react and how, if they can survive. And then they, obviously bring them home. But then they start putting people in space. And we're just trying to be the best. We're trying to, be the first to do each thing. So finally, we're, getting into the 60s, and in 1969, the USA was able to put their first man on the moon. So, anybody know his name? First man to walk on the moon? Anybody? Neil Armstrong. Some of you have read about Neil Armstrong in my class during guided reading. So, Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin go to the moon, and that was a huge win for us in the space race. So, feel free to do more research about the space race. You can see I've got my NASA shirt on. If you have any questions, have your parents email me, and I will see you soon with another lesson. Bye.